Hi YouTube, welcome to day 14 of our board studying. Wow, I can't believe that we are 2 weeks in already. I think we have less than 3 weeks to go, so is that right? I don't know.
No, 3 weeks.
3 weeks to go. So today, actually, I didn't do any studying. Can you believe that? Nothing. I did not even look at first aid. I didn't listen to any videos. And that's because we watched 2 extra lectures on Friday, and I took that 8-hour test yesterday, and I'll watch 2 extra lectures tomorrow. So today was really a full day off, which felt great. I was pretty exhausted after that 8-hour exam. This morning woke up, we had church today, so I gotta watch the baby this morning, and then went to church and came home and had lunch and just kind of relaxed. And cleaning, we're still trying to organize everything from moving, so I worked on that a little bit tonight and had dinner. And yeah, it was just kind of a relaxing day. I can't even say much what I did because I didn't do anything very important or anything, so it was a much needed day off, and I'm excited to get back at it tomorrow, and so that's good. So, which leaves me, I have lots of questions to answer tonight. You guys have left a lot of questions, and I'm going to try to answer them all. If I don't, just let me know, leave it below, and be like, you didn't answer my question. So, I'll start off. So, someone asked about how do I balance med school and being married, and I guess to start off, we don't really know anything different. Like, we got married right before we started med school, so I don't know how med school is without being married. But we do try to separate our time from med school and try to hang out with each other. It almost seems impossible to just completely separate med school, because when we go out to dinner on a date night or something, we don't know really what else to talk about. Like, oh, what'd you do today? Oh, I did exactly what you did. I was in med school, and here's how it was. So that's kind of a bummer. But we just, I don't know, we try to stay connected. We're together pretty much 24/7, and I don't know, it's just very enmeshed. I guess I don't know. Balance is, I don't know how we're doing it, but I can usually tell if we're tipping more towards med school or more towards not med school, and trying to rein that in. My best, I guess, pictorial idea of balance in med school is, I used to think, I don't know, the old-fashioned like balances. If you have too much med school, it tips like this, heavy on med school side, or too much not med school stuff tips to here. And that was always impossible because I always felt like med school was taking over. So in order to balance it, I just moved the fulcrum just over, and then things were balanced out. So I don't know. I don't think I answered that very well, but balance in med school, I think that's something everybody struggles with, not just the married people. And I'll be honest, I think it would be harder to be in med school and married to someone who wasn't in med school, because John completely understands what I'm going through. If we both have an exam that day, the dishes might not get done, and I'm not going to be mad, because I'm busy studying too, and he's busy studying. And on days that is an easier day and we don't have to study it all that day, we can actually hang out and spend time together. And we just, I don't know, I feel like we just really, really understand each other in that sense. So I don't know, I guess we're fortunate in that sense, and we love it, and we have to support each other. To be honest, the hardest part about being married and being in med school is, not that it's competitive or anything, but really knowing how to react if, let's say, he did well on a test and I didn't, or I did well on a test and he didn't. It's almost worse being the one that did better, because I don't know, you're excited, and the person who didn't do well is sad, but has to be excited for the other person. I think that's been actually the biggest challenge, is working through that. Anyways, that's a tangent, so I'll hopefully make these a little bit shorter. Then they asked about plan for kids, and yes, we do plan on having kids. Not right now during med school, but possibly second year residency, we're thinking would be a good time to possibly start. We have to figure out what the residency program and how everyone else went through it in first year, second year, third year, which is the hardest. I don't know, so it's up in the air, but not during med school, but yes, on the kids. And how are we going to juggle that with our careers? Well, we'll have to figure that out, I guess, kind of as we go. The residency program that we're interested in has quite a few couples who've gone through there, and they said, like, the program was really excellent. Like, when they didn't have kids, they made sure they were on call on the same night, so that they optimized how many nights they actually spent together. And then when they had kids, they made sure they weren't on call on the same night so that someone was always there with the baby or with the children. And then when it comes to actually outside of residency, I'm not exactly sure. I'd love to work for a clinic that kind of lets you pick your own hours. And when our kids are in school, hopefully, maybe I'll take the morning and I'll go in from like 6:30 to 2:30, and John will get the kids off and ready for school, and then I'll be home for when they come home from school, and he'll be at school till 5, and I can get dinner ready, and then we can all hang out as a family afterwards. So I don't know, that's kind of the plan right now. And you guys are going to think I'm a nerd, but I have actually like written out, I don't know if you can see that at all, like year by year, like when we're having kids and what kid number and everything. But of course, that's not going to happen, but it's just my plan because I like to plan. Career that my husband wants to pursue. So John wants to do pretty much the same thing I do, small town family medicine. So we're going to do the couples match and be family physicians. So story, how did we meet? Well, that could be a whole video in itself, so I'll give you kind of the watered down version. But we actually started dating in high school. I think someone asked if we were high school sweethearts, and yes, we are high school sweethearts. I actually met him in 5th grade. He was my dancing partner. I know, very romantic in the 5th grade, but then we weren't in the same school until high school, and we didn't start dating until senior year of high school. So we met there and went on a date. We went to Applebee's, and I didn't even really know it was a date. I brought my biology textbook because we both were in AP biology together, and I thought we were going to study, but apparently that was our first date. So I don't know, that's kind of in a quick answer, how did we meet? And we had already decided on what school we were going to, and as fate had it, we were going to the same undergrad. So we both went to St. Olaf College, and we broke up for a few months and then got back together, and we've been dating and then got engaged just before our senior year of college, and got married not even a month after graduating from undergrad and a month before med school started. So that is the very fast version of our story. And then why did I choose DO? Why did we choose DO? And DO is Doctor of Osteopathy, osteopathic medicine. And I actually didn't know what a DO was until someone came and talked at our undergrad about that they were a DO and what they did and everything. And I remember making a phone call to my mom that night saying, "Mom, I figured out what I want to do with my life." And of course she was like, "Yep, you say this like every week and it's completely different." And then as I started researching it more and more and applying to med schools and figuring out what kind of doctor I wanted to be, I chose DO because I thought it would be beneficial to have extra training in manipulative medicine, and I just really liked how the schools were organized. Where we go, I just really liked the classes and the feeling at the school and how well everyone seemed to be prepared afterwards, and I really liked treating the patient, as a whole person, body, mind, and spirit. And it's just more than their symptoms and diseases and everything. And I liked that added education, and that's what I wanted. And I sat down with my pre-med counselor in undergrad, and he's like, "Well, we've already made the decision that you want to be a great doctor. It's just, where do you want your education to be?" He's like, "I know you're going to work hard and you're going to do great with your patients, but, what education do you want?" And I don't know, that really hit home. And I was like, you know what? I want to get the most out of it, and I want to have the background of, more than just the physical symptoms and everything. And so that's why I chose DO, and we both applied to MD and DO schools and got accepted at both, and we ended up going DO. So again, I probably could make a whole video on that too, but I'm just trying to quickly get through all these questions. And what subject is like my worst subject while studying? And that's probably immunology. I don't know, okay, this is going to sound really goofy, and I can't believe I'm admitting this on YouTube, but when I was in med school, like just starting, I didn't know like antibiotic, antibody, like what are those? Like I somehow had skipped that in my undergrad education and everything, and so I had almost no knowledge of immunology going into med school, and I've just struggled with it ever since. But I think I'm trying to figure out like CD4, CD8, MHC 1 and 2. Oh my goodness, that's always a pain for me, but I think I've got some of the basics covered now. But I really don't like studying for that one. Yeah, I guess that's the worst one. Distractions while studying? Yes. I feel like everyone has distractions. For me, it's what else is going on. I need to be at the library or at school, and I just need to be studying. When I'm at home here studying and someone's doing something upstairs, or they're having lunch, or someone's walking by, I feel very distracted. Also, of course, I feel like I have to check my email like every 45 minutes and check Facebook, and of course I check YouTube and see if anyone's commented, and yeah, so those are all distractions. So when I'm at school, I really try to limit myself and not have any other windows up on my computer other than my lectures, and that seems to help. Am I the first physician in my family? And yes, I am. John is too. We don't come from a medical background at all. My family, I think, thinks I'm crazy for going into medicine and becoming a doctor. And yeah, my grandma was a nurse. That's the closest I am to something medically related. Let's see. I think John has a few aunts who are nurses as well, but we are both first physicians in our families. Am I studying first aid along with DIT? Yes. Along with DIT, the plan is kind of to get through first aid 2 times before you start the lectures, and then DIT actually uses first aid kind of as their book. They also send you a spiral-bound like study guide as well, but you do use first aid pages and everything, and they sometimes like read directly off the page and like walk you through the pictures that are on first aid. So yes, I've been using first aid through DIT. And someone asked about questions that I'm doing through UWorld or USMLE World, and I'm not using USMLE World. I've used the Kaplan USMLE questions, I've used the Kaplan COMLEX questions, and now I have ComBank, and I also have ComQuest I'm going to start using once I've finished ComBank. So I've done about 1,000 questions through the Kaplan USMLE, 1,000 through the Kaplan COMLEX, about 600, 700 through ComBank. Those are all through the QBanks, and then I've taken 200 questions from my ComSay exam, which is like the MBOME's exams they give out for $50. I've taken 400 questions through the 8-hour test that the simulated exam through Kaplan's COMLEX questions, and I did about 150 diagnostic USMLE questions through Kaplan. So I think that totals about 3,300, 3,400. So that's how many questions I have done. Oh my goodness, seems like a lot. And I plan on finishing ComBank pretty much next week and then starting ComQuest as my last kind of leg of the journey. So I hope that answers that question. And then someone asked about malpractice and error and being a physician, and is that a worry of mine, and should that deter pre-med students? I don't know if it should deter you, but I think it's good that all pre-med students understand that it's not just you're a physician and you walk in and you help people and it's as simple as that, because there's a lot more that goes into it, especially with the different things in healthcare that are going on right now in our government. And there's a whole bunch of like suits against physicians and malpractice suits and having an error. I mean, that scares me to death. And are we all human? Are we all prone to error? Absolutely. But I feel like physicians are held to a standard where we can't make an error. But I don't know. I hate to admit it, but yeah, I feel like every physician will at some point make an error. And again, we're all human. We shouldn't be making errors, but we will. I think it takes a person to be a physician to have great responsibility, and they have to accept that responsibility. I don't know how it's going to be out there when I have my own first patient. I don't know what it's going to be like when I have my first patient and I feel like I made a mistake, or I should have treated them differently, or maybe I said something or I didn't ask the right question. I know I'm going to have to deal with that, and I haven't dealt with that yet, but it's good to start understanding that that is part of being a physician too. So I don't know if it should deter you, but it's good that you're asking those questions and knowing that's part of it. And responsibility is huge. You are taking on the responsibility of another person's life, and they're coming to you with questions, and you have to answer them and help them out and make decisions. And sometimes you have to make decisions for them, and hopefully in their best interest and what they want. Malpractice there, oh my gosh, that scares me. I think we learned some crazy stat that like doctors have that one every 6 years is the average for a physician to be sued. and just document everything. I mean, really, that's what will save you, is be up to date, know what the standard of care is, and document everything. That's a good prevention for malpractice. And the physician-patient relationship is huge, and they've learned that, and just relating to them and saying sorry. If you ran the wrong lab or something, it's more important to say, I'm sorry, I made that mistake. Just apologize to them. We had one doctor who says she apologizes all the time, and you're less likely to get sued as a physician if you apologize and acknowledge it than if you shove it under the rug and don't talk to them until they deliver papers. So that was interesting. We do have a class that talks about that, which is really helpful, and we take a class, healthcare law and medical ethics and everything like that, or medical law through our medical ethics class. So I hope I answered that, but I feel like that could be a whole other video too. How many hours do we sleep each night? 7.5, 8 hours. Sleep is very important. We know that. I didn't used to be the best sleeper through undergrad, but in med school we've really tried to get 8 hours of sleep a night, and I can really tell the difference. So, allopathic versus osteopathic. So I kind of answered that in my why did I choose DO, but I guess maybe I didn't. So an allopathic doctor, you get your medical degree, you're an MD. Osteopathic physician, you have your DO, Doctor of Osteopathy. And like I stated before, there is some differences. Oh my gosh, you can see what John's playing over there. Allopathic versus osteopathic. Osteopathic physicians take the same classes. I mean, I think there's a school in Michigan that has DO program and an MD program, and the DOs take all the same classes as the students in the MD program. However, they have to take 200 plus hours of OMM, which stands for Osteopathic Manipulation Medicine, or OMT, Osteopathic Manipulation Treatment. Well, I don't know. I think that's what it stands for. So let's see. You just get trained in manipulations. We have extra training in kind of the anatomy. We have, every week we had an extra lecture plus an extra 2.5 or an extra hour and a half lab every week. And we learn how, for instance, if you come in with back pain, we know treatments that can help you right then and there in the office. If it's soft tissue or muscle energy or HVLA, just different treatments, but also we can prescribe medications, we can refer them to physical therapy, and we can do anything an MD can do, but we have, I think, a few extra tools in our toolbox, as John likes to say it. But they are, there's a history too. You have to understand, when I was going to be a DO, everyone's like, oh, are those as highly acknowledged as MDs and everything like that? And I think that's finally changing, and that was a challenge that I was willing to put up with if in the future, people would question, do I have enough training to be as good as an MD? And the answer is yes, I do. And that brings me right into the COMLEX USMLE question. So USMLE is what MDs need to take, and COMLEX is what the DOs need to take. However, so as a DO student, I have to take the COMLEX. If you're an MD student, you have to take the USMLE test. However, as an osteopathic student, you can also take the USMLE. However, MDs cannot take the COMLEX, because on the COMLEX there are OMM questions, and they haven't taken the classes and have been trained in OMM, so they can't take it. But we have been trained in everything that MDs have been, so we can take the USMLE. I, however, have chosen not to, because 1, I don't want to take another 8-hour exam, and 2, I don't want to pay another $500 some, and I guess 3 is the residency programs I'm looking into accept COMLEX just like they would accept a USMLE, and that's not a problem. There are some programs that I think they would recommend you take the USMLE in order to compare you to the other applicants. So again, I'm going to have to do a whole video on that. I've been asked that question a lot, and I'll hopefully do a better job of being a bit more clear on the differences. So, someone asked about math and if they have to be good at math in order to be a doctor or go on to med school. And I don't know. I went all the way through AP Calculus in high school, and I took calculus in college, and my goodness, that was way harder than any of the math that we have to do in med school. There's basic equations I have to do, like cross multiplication. What other thing was I doing on? Square roots. it's really, I think, basic algebra is pretty much the only, and that's all just on, I don't know, standard deviations and calculate the SMEs and I don't know. I mean, it's basic. They talk about averages and means and modes. So, again, it's nothing like calculus. It's nothing like geometry. It's nothing like even pre-calculus. That's even above and beyond. So, I would go on a limb and say, no, you don't have to be excellent at math to do well in med school. Onto the second page of my notes. So, someone questioned if I think I mentioned or I put something that I was a second year. And I guess I'm not a second year anymore because I finished all my second year classes, but I just don't feel like a third year yet. I think I'm going to have to wait till I finish my boards and I'm out on rotations, and then I'll introduce myself as a third year medical student. But I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just not ready to jump to the third year status yet. But technically, I guess I am a third year. Why did I choose DIT or Doctors in Training? I did a bunch of research earlier in the year on how to prepare for boards. I mean, this was like last summer I probably put in 40 or 50 hours into researching how I wanted to do boards. And DIT just seemed very similar to what I would like to do. And it's very organized, and it followed first aid. And I don't know, I really liked them. I can probably do another video after I'm done comparing if I like them and if it worked and why I chose them. So I'll do that at the end, but I was just getting shushed. Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, I'll wrap this up. Should I use the latest first aid version? I have the latest first aid version, and I love it. It's colored. I don't know, I guess that's my favorite thing is that it's colored and they have all the pictures like within, like all the red blood cells or all the different blood cell types are in the like actually section, and they're colored and it's beautiful. I wouldn't say you had to get it, like if you're strapped for money and you already had the 2011 or 2010, I wouldn't say it's necessary, but I really do like my 2012 version. About reviewing my questions. Now, this one I kind of feel guilty about. I do 50 questions every morning, and it probably takes me like 35 minutes to get through those, and I spend the last 25 minutes of that hour reviewing them. I know, 25 minutes reviewing them, not very much. I probably should do more, but I go through, I look at the answers, and even if I got it right or wrong, and I read like the explanations and everything. And ComBank has been great for that. With Kaplan QBank for the COMLEX, I actually had to look up my answers in the book, and that took like at least 2 hours to have to go through a test for that, which is really annoying. But ComBank does a really good job, I think, of explaining it to the level it needs to. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend to doing what I do and just whizzing through them, but I guess that's one of my downfalls of studying. But all right, have I heard of pathoma? No, maybe vaguely, but I didn't look into it much, and I don't know much about it. But I'm not doing Golden either. I'm not listening to the lectures or do I have his book. I do have the BRS Path book, and I love it, and I don't think I'm hindered by it. Just talking to other people, some of them love it and they rave about it, but I don't know, I seem to be doing fine, and I haven't done it, so I wouldn't be too worried. Just pick what's best for you. It came down to the font. His book or the BRS book, and I like the BRS book just based on like font and the looks of it, because I figured it had all the right information, and they both were highly reviewed and liked by students. So I chose, so go with your gut, pick which one you think will work for you. Talking about blocks and breaks, I think you must be talking about the actual test day, and there are 8 total blocks of 50 questions on the COMLEX. So you take 4, and then you take 4. After your second break, you have an optional 10-minute break. However, that is part of your test time. So you have 4 hours for your 200 questions, and you have 50 questions in a block. And once you're done with your 50 questions, you hit a button saying, yes, I'm done with this block. I can't review any more of those questions, and you move on to the next 50 questions. After you're done with the second block, you have an option to take 10 minutes of your own time and get up and I think you can, I'm guessing that's what you can do is get up, go to the bathroom, have a snack, have a drink of water. I'll tell you a lot more about that after I take the exam to see exactly if that's true or not. But that does, like I said, come out of your 4 hours if you take that 10-minute break. But I plan on taking that. And then you have a 40-minute break for lunch after your fourth block. And that doesn't come out of your time. Like, that's just purely 40 minutes for you to have your lunch. And when you come back, you have another 4 hours to take 200 more questions. And the same thing, you do 2 blocks and have an optional 10-minute break, but that does come out of your 4-hour time block. And then you do 2 more. So I hope that answered your question. And then when do I have my exam scheduled? I have it scheduled for June 22nd. Wow, it's crazy. It's coming up, but I'm really excited to be done with that. And then some of my questions, John's birthday. I think I did mention that we went out to dinner on May 30th, but that actually wasn't his real birthday. That was just the night that they had the deal at the sushi place. So I think that's it. Whew. You guys have lots of good questions, but like I said, some of them I'm going to have to make a longer video because I know my answers weren't like as full as they should have been. But I hope that's good for now. If you guys have anything else, leave questions below and I will answer them next Sunday. And this video is really long. I'm already noticing it is 25 minutes. So if you are still with me, oh my goodness, like, good for you. I don't know if I could have sat through me talking for 25 minutes, but my tip for the day, I did not forget the tip, is to make a plan. I cannot tell you how thankful I am for having a plan and sticking with it. So even from January, I kind of had a plan of how I wanted to study for the next 6 months, and then for these last 5 weeks, I pretty much had an hour-by-hour plan and what I wanted to cover every day. Granted, Doctors in Training program makes it really easy to plan that out because they kind of have a schedule for you and stick to it. You know, obviously put in days for if you want a day off or not, but it's good to get a calendar, sit down, figure out what you need to cover, and then how you're going to fit it all in. I think that's very important. So I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. We are leaving tomorrow at 6 in the morning, so I am not getting my 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep tonight. But I will see you all tomorrow.